Hello and welcome back to Burgundy Banter. A little bit sooner than expected of a podcast here. This is a bit of an emergency podcast. My name is Juanners.
I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we have assembled a crew here. I put out the, hey, we need to do an emergency pod. We have to talk about this. Because if you didn't know, our lead story, the only topic for today's banter, is a report from Tom Bogert that the Colorado Rapids have traded Djordje Mihailovic to Toronto FC for $8 million in GAM and an additional $1 million in add-ons. And the response from many Rapids fans, man, it is, oh man, I feel for everybody, because this is, I mean, if you heard that news and you're shocked, a lot of Rapids fans were, and after the initial shock came, the very, very negative, just outlook on this. Like it's a very tough deal to swallow. I'm going to go to John first, and then we'll go to Jeremy. But initial thoughts, John, what do you make of this?
Initial thoughts, I was pretty angry, to be honest with you. It didn't really make sense of why you would trade your best player in the middle of the season when you're desperately trying to make a playoff push. I understand you move players all the time, especially the way our calendars line up with transfer windows, but it just didn't make sense. A lot of anger out of that. And then you start kind of figuring out who's pushing the trade. And then, like, who do I need to be angry at? Do I need to be angry at the front office? Do I need to be angry at Djordje for wanting to leave? So it's a very confusing time, to be honest with you.
I want to get the outside perspective here. Why I kind of threw it out to anyone on outside the box to join, and Jeremy took that call there. But Jeremy, from an outside perspective, how are you seeing this? Like what was your reaction from far to this one?
My first reaction was like, that's the price? As in, it seemed like he was pretty gettable. I know like 8 million is still a lot. I think this makes it the second biggest MLS interleague cash for being cash transfer, since the rule was implemented in the last offseason behind only Evander, who went for 12 million. And part of me is thinking this could end up being a steal for Toronto because of how much of a shining star Mihailovic has been in this Rapids team, but basically being their most productive attacker, not from anything, not just from like the goals and assist standpoint, but from the fact that he is, I still believe at this point, the league leader in expected assists. And for the majority of the season, I was thinking, like, make him an all-star. He should be in an all-star team. If people were able to finish off some of his chances that he was creating, he could be in the MVP race right now. That's how good he's been this year. And last year, he was also incredible, leading the Rapids to third place in League's Cup, because that's I guess, the high point of the 2024 season for Colorado. And I guess the high point of Mihailovic's Rapids tenure, highlighted by a very pronounced up the fucking kids into the television camera after beating Club America last year. So while it seems like Mihailovic might have wanted out, I think there were a couple of like red flags / question marks when he was left out of the team against Tijuana yesterday. But at the same time, I didn't think it meant, oh, move is coming. Given how fast these games have been going, it seemed like a decent time to give him a rest. But I guess it wasn't the case. The move was basically there, and it doesn't shock me that the Rapids had rejected 2 bids. But at the end of the day, Mihailovic, he did really well in Montreal. And that got him the move to the Netherlands, to AZ Alkmaar. And then he gets brought back to MLS by the Rapids. I guess he just really wanted to go to Canada, if anything. And once Toronto came calling, it became a matter of, okay, like, make sure they match our price.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, initially the Rapids signed him for $3 million, right? And funny enough, Cincinnati had his discovery priority, so they sure do love discovering their players in Cincinnati. But beyond that, like, my thing is, I know a lot of fans wanted at least $10 million for him, right? I am willing to say that Toronto overpaid here, and there's the side of me that's like, I can't help but be a football manager, freaking pilled guy that sees a big. I mean, this is kind of one of those football manager signings, like you do it just to get a big cash influx, and you pivot from there and build around a team. Like it's funny because last year, you look at RSL, they sold one of their most productive players in Carlos Andres Gomez, and their season tanked. Like, immediately afterward, Chicho was not the same player. Diego Luna was not the same player. All of these, like, all of this collapse, right, for Salt Lake. I can see it now coming for Djordje, because even though it is good business, even though it is good money, like, Djordje was the only big budget move the Rapids have ever hit on. And I mean, you could even I'll toss Navajo in there because I've largely been a Navajo denier, but I mean, he's scoring goals, he's producing, the team is feeding him, but that's another hit. For those two players alone, you can list off 5 guys that have just never really saw the light of day here for the Pids, and that have come with significant investment. Like, we're talking about Lamine Diak. We're talking about Marco Illich, who was on $1 million in salary. Or they spent $1 million. Sidney Tavares, like Cheeto Awazim, I'll throw in, because even though I highly rated him, like, how can we not say his time here was anything but a flop? Like, the Rapids still don't have their defensive issues sorted out. And amidst all that, to then get rid of one of the most productive players, as Jeremy said, on the team, leading in expected assists, leading in passing G+ as well, leading in dribbling G+ as well. Like, you just lost the creative metronome of this team. So with all that being said, I'm going to throw it over to John. What do you make of it, man? Like, I saw somebody had said that, someone with Burgundy Wave had, asked fans, is this about the money, or is this like would more money have softened this blow? I think so, yeah. But what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with everything that you kind of said. We've had defensive issues all season, and our offense have not been nearly as productive as last year, and now it's just going to be even worse. Everything went through Djordje. But it is interesting with this move. Is it all about the money? Was there other issues that he was having with the club? Because from what I could gather listening to Tom Boger and Brendan Norris put out a message saying that the club was trying to convince him to stay and he didn't want to stay. It sounds like this was going on for at least the last month, these negotiations with TFC. They rejected 2 offers. The Rapids wanted to do this deal in the winter, but then Djordje went to the club this past week and said, no, I want to move now. I want to go now. So as much as the frustration is going to be on the field, I'm more curious about what's going on in the front office that made our best DP we've ever signed want to leave this club. Is it just the money? Because KSC has money. Why couldn't you offer the same kind of money that TFC wanted to offer? Is there a training facility issue? Is there issues between Djordje and Armis? Armis last night, when asked how come Djordje didn't play, he said it was for personal issues that Djordje needed to work out himself. that didn't sound pretty good coming from the coach. What things did he need to work through? So I have a lot of questions about why he really wanted to leave this club. And if it's just for the money, you know, I kind of sour on the guy a bit about that. You know, I get it, go chase the dollars and everything, but what does it say about our front office where star players want to leave? And that's what I want to really dig into. Is there bad training facilities? Is this where a player didn't like the system or didn't like the players around him? Did the front office didn't give him enough talent so he wanted to leave? I'm just a little upset as a fan because why support this club if we lose star players? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and well, you know, it's funny you say that because Jeremy was, you know, at the hands of some of this when Evander had left Portland. And it wasn't too long ago that Portland actually did invest in facilities of their own. Or I guess not of their own, but, you know, we talk about Portland buying that set of land, that training facility that, you know, that does help in acquiring talent. It does help. It goes
Right.
a long way in sort of keeping talent.
Right, and to go where with Jeremy with Portland, he can speak more into this. When they sold Evander, there was always a player coming up. There was rumors of like, hey, Evander's going to go, but then they're going to go sign this player. So there was vision built around Evander leaving. If the club knew for the last month that Djordje wanted to leave, we have not heard one rumor about a playmaker 10 coming to this club. So if you knew that he wanted out and that he was going to go, you didn't plan for that. You don't have somebody there that you can bring in. Where's the vision of this move? That's like a very concerning part. You know, Portland had that. There was a vision behind Vander leaving. I don't see any vision with Djordje leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go into the squad building stuff as well because I mean, it's tough because there's the player side of this, right, and how I see the Rapids. I mean, I've always thought the Rapids were Djordje was always a player you could just have on the roster, and no matter what system, he would thrive because he's talented, man. He's probably one of the most talented Rapids in the entire, not only talented but the most productive, and that's hard to find. So it's tough to lose it because you know he does really well, but I can't help but feel that he probably the system like Armisball and Mihailovic. I always thought Mihailovic succeeded despite Armisball, you know, and now he's gonna go over to Fraser Ball, who kind of gets his he gets a DP10 from KSE some way or another.
ASC, yeah.
But man, I'll go to Jeremy just on the sporting side here because I always thought Djordje would be better on a possession-based team, and that's probably not where Toronto is. I mean, not really here to talk much. I think Djordje will do fine with Toronto, and he'll be in a good environment there. But besides that, like from a sporting perspective, like I don't know if are the Rapids fucked here, Jeremy? Like, are you kind of seeing the Rapids on the standings and kind of like not so concerned anymore? I mean, they are 7 points clear with a game in hand, so I mean, there's plenty to be, you know, feeling good about. But RSL, a game in hand, they have a point on us. Austin FC, 2 games in hand, they have 33 points. They have a whole win on us. LAFC, 3 games in hand, and they have 6 points on us. Right behind the Rapids is the Earthquakes with 29 points, Houston Dynamo with 27. And I mean, maybe FC Dallas could, and Sporting KC could make things interesting. They both have a game in hand. Right now, where the Rapids are in 9th, like, this is a very precarious position to be. Jeremy, I'll swing over to you.
Yeah. There are 2 parts of the sporting aspect that you have to talk about. The first is the fact that the Rapids technically have 2 open DP spots right now. The other factor is who owns the club, guys. Who's going to be providing the money to sign those DPs? I feel like one of those DP spots gets filled before the end of the summer window. I don't know which player you're going to bring in for that. Now, given how Armas has been starting with the 4-2-2 as of late, the formation of the year, I might say, it kind of makes sense to try and fill that spot with a winger instead of going right back to the DP number 10. Because Djordje, even though I'd say he's primarily a 10, but he was playing really well as one of those like inverted wingers in the 4-2-2. I feel like that you want to find another winger before you find another 10 here, because I think Armas has kind of found a tactic that I think puts, most importantly, the midfield in the best place to succeed. And it also adds Yappy up top with Navajo. So if you go and you fill that DP spot with another winger, I feel like that works. And then you wait until the winter to see whether or not you want to sign another DP10. Even though, because this is the summer window, with all the European moves happening around now, it might be a little bit more economical to try and find a DP number 10. But at the same time, how much money are you actually going to commit to it? Like, seriously, how much money are you planning on committing to a new Djordje replacement, which could be a DP number 10, could be a DP winger, but then what does that make the Cabral replacement? And although the other bit of Rapids news is the confirmed signing of Rob Holding for center back, don't know how I feel about that. He certainly is a center back, guys. But I think no matter what, there has to be another DP attacker coming in, whether or not it is a 10 or a winger, or maybe a combination of both. That's what's going to make or break the Rapids season, because that table position is terrifying. If I was a Colorado fan, I see that, oh my God, I wake up to Djordje just being sold to Toronto, and I look at the table and I see that San Jose is still pushing really hard behind us. Houston, they had a terrible Leagues Cup. They're gonna find and figure out something, I feel like, over the final 10 games of the season. RSL still got a game in hand. Austin has 2 games in hand. It's not a good table position to be in, and you need to score goals in order to get farther up the table. Even if Armas, like, I guess miraculously at this point, finds a way to fix the defense, you're missing so much in that attack. So, yeah, find one DP attacker to replace, and you have $9 million, or as John put in the Discord, 7.2, because 20% of that is going to Mihailovic unless he decides to waive it. You have money now. You have to spend it. You absolutely have to spend it.
Well, I mean, and that goes back to, I mean, another wrinkle in there, because I know you said the Rapids have 2 DP spots. They only will have a second DP spot if somebody picks up Cabral's contract. Just because they waived him, they still are, on the hook for his DP status. So it's just kind of another, if we're talking about cartoons, you're walking in and you step on the rake and it hits you right in the face. I mean, the Rapids just walked into 3 of those just now. I mean, waiving Cabral, that was kind of a big, a big testament to, hey, we're willing to move on from this stuff, only to find out, yeah, he's actually still a DP until he finds a new club, and then you walk into Djordje Mihailovic wanting out, and it puts the team in a very tough position. But like John said, it's like if you were kind of aware that Djordje was going to be, or was showing some frustration at least, right? Like you should be planning for that next move. And beyond that, guys, like, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of deals for the window that we're open in right now, a lot of deals tend to get finished in June, and then by the time the window opens, hey, that player is free to come in now. And I think that even worked with Rob Holding. That move had been in a while. The Rapids have about 3 weeks to fill this spot, and I don't think they do. And I think that is kind of the ultimate bane on this team, is that they are always planning for the next year. They're always looking for some way to savvy good business themselves into better spots, but I can't help but feel like it's a 2 steps forward with that big 2024 offseason, and then a big 3 steps back with a year and a half later. You're already gone, like, without Djordje, and that project's already gone. It's tough, because when I saw the news, I guess I was shocked, but not, I don't know, like, it wasn't all that surprising to see this move. I was just shocked they actually did it, I guess. But like, it's not even anger anymore. It's just kind of an apathy at this point. Like, of course they would sell Mihailovic, and before that, I mean, I thought he was gonna go to Columbus Crew. Like, I had been floating, what if this team gets rid of Mihailovic? The most likely suitor to come would be Columbus, who are missing a 10. They went out and got Gazdag, and that kind of cleared a lot of my anxiety there. But then it just came back in a different way, in probably the least opportune window for MLS sides. And if there was ever a case to be made for adhering to the European transfer schedule, it's this. It's the fact that, yeah, the Rapids have money, but again, look at that track record of spending. Look at all the players that have come in and gone, and you add Djordje to that list now, who in his short time showcased his talent and his ability, and now I think he's gonna go off to, he certainly believes greener pastures, but it's that fan side of, like, why would Djordje want to leave?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said there, Juan. We're not going to pick up any player, I don't believe anyway, in this transfer window. We've been rumored to have some kind of young Colombian winger who plays in Argentina. That sounds like that's going to go through. But as far as, like, somebody who can come in, carry the team, that's probably not going to happen this year. And so as a fan, I'm kind of just looking at this as, like, what is there for these 9 games? Like, where's the excitement? Do we even make a playoff push without having that player on there? And what I'm really worried, what does this do to our locker room now? If you're Hoff and Navarro and you looking at this move, do you still want to be here? Is he going to start asking for a transfer out? What does Cole Bassett do? Like, at this point, Cole Bassett is probably the leader of the team, and I don't know if he is ready to even put a team on his back. So there's just so many questions going forward about this club right now.
One final question, and then we'll kind of go into the responses, because I did put out two threads out, one on Bluesky, one on Twitter. But how does this affect Chris Armas? Because I have not been a big fan of the game style. I think it's kind of silly to be pressing at a mile high, and as the defensive issues have persisted, like, more and more, I'm convinced that Armas is just not the guy that's going to shore up this back line, right? But I can't help but feel a little bit for him here, losing such a big piece. We talked about it on Outside the Box. This is where coaches make their bread. This is where they prove, why they were hired in the first place. If there's any time for Chris Armas to perform, it is now, with a big handcuff. I don't envy his position right now, but I'm gonna go to Jeremy here on the outside. How are you looking at the rest of Armas ball in Colorado? Do you think the team re-signs him?
When's his contract up?
At the end of this year.
Oh my God. Wow, they're not doing him any favors, are they? Or Djordje could not be doing him any favors, you know. That's the other thing I feel like I've properly touched on is like how much of this was like Djordje saying he wanted out versus how much of this was like the just the front office just creating the conditions for him to want out. And I heard a comparison to Evander earlier from John. Let me set this really clearly. Since Evander got to Portland in 2023, during every single transfer window, his agent, who is also his dad, was fielding calls from every single club who had even a smidge of interest in him. So his dad was actively shopping him at every available opportunity. I don't think that's the same with Djordje. So I think that Djordje's situation more clearly points to it could be debates with Armis, it could be debates with the front office for, you know, like just having the albatross of Cabral sticking around when that could have been a productive running mate for him. I don't know. But I do think that for Armis, at least, there are good players on this Rapids team. There are players that I like a lot. I like Josh Atencio. I like Oliver Laraz. I like Cole Bassett. I like Cudi Pietro, even though I don't think he's had enough time to like fully become the best version of himself, which is also really good. I like Navajo. I like Yappy. And I like a lot of the other players on this team. I think Hansen's fantastic as a backup goalkeeper. And it would also not surprise me to see like bids come in for Stefan, you know. But I think at this point in the season that this is where Armis really has to, you know, earn that extension and the ability to be coaching this team. So I don't think he's going to be able to do it purely because as a guy who's come from the Red Bull system where the press is the best playmaker, you're now losing your safety valve. You're losing the guy who could play make without the press. And that's just that kind of seems like a death knell to him. And I don't want to be too negative about him because he's a great guy from everything that I've heard. Like very nice, very polite, like excellent leader of a football team. But now with the chips truly down and him now having to coach effectively with both hands tied behind his back, because that's how important Djordje is to this team. I don't think he's going to get that next extension. And I don't think it's going to be through any fault of his own unless something happened between Djordje and Armis to sour that relationship to the point of him wanting out.
Yeah, it's... Oh, man, it's probably... I mean, I can't remember the last time that a story like this kind of rocked rocked really the I don't want to say like not the foundation of the team, but just really rocked Rapids fan. I think the last time there was kind of this big kind of news dump and news like waking up to the news was when the Rapids fired Pablo. Like that felt heavy. That felt like and you know the subsequent Rapids op-ed that came out and kind of outlined a lot of the statements. Like that's the last time I've felt this kind of like shock in terms of Rapids fandom here. And so too have a lot of the fan base. I put out some threads on Twitter. We'll get into that right now. We'll start with Joseph Williamson. Happy for him if it's what he wants, I guess. And he puts a little I'm fine kid that just starts crying, gets interviewed. Great gif. You know, this one does. I feel funny because like a lot of Rapids players in the past have happily left the team, right? They have announced on Twitter like I'm out or like see ya, you know. But you know, this one is a bit more ambiguous. So it may be what he wanted, and everything, you know, everything points to that. Are we looking at his non-call-up as a reason to why he may have wanted to, because he didn't get called up at all. Jeremy pointed out he didn't get the All-Star count either. Like it could just be a fact that Djordje just didn't want to be that guy here, and that says a lot more about the Rapids than anything else. James Jimenez at Joe P. Williamson for that last one. Sorry, Joseph. At Jim Jam 28 MY, James Jimenez. This sucks, but I don't blame him, even though he could waited after the season. Who wants to play in a shit stadium, training, etc.? Yeah, that one is we still have yet to see anything from the club in terms of victory crossing there. But at JD Sports Fan 85, John D. I've come to a conclusion about the hashtag Rapids identity as a club. It is inconsistency, wildly incompetent inconsistency from top to bottom. That truly is the Rapids way. It's in the club's DNA. At Judgmental Jim, who changed his name to Rapid Sufferer. Fuck this front office right now. Enough said. It's tough because I agree. It has been fuck the front office for a while, but this one is just if Djordje wanted to leave, we often hear that the club did right by the player to let him leave. Like no one was upset when Cheeto asked to leave. You know what I mean? But let's move on. At Viv Savage 303, nothing to be excited about. No one to get the ball to Huffa. All we are as season ticket holders is an email address to try to sell shitty box seats and northern boundary upgrades. And then finally, Jose Tejas at It's Bro Migo. I need to know why he pushed for this move. Doesn't make a ton of sense on the surface, but maybe I'm missing something. I think it's that last part. I think we are missing something when it comes to this trade. And it doesn't matter whether we get it, via Djordje. Like we find out Djordje just didn't want to be here. If we find out if the club just kind of, because by all accounts, it looked like the club wanted to keep him. But got some more on Bluesky. Jamal Murray fan 37. Bsky.Social. Put more pressure on Kroenke to sell the fucking team. No stupid one-game boycotts. At DevinMachine.Bsky.Social. Devin Wydick. Can't wait for the schedule to change so we watch a USL quality roster play in the middle of January. Never been more hyped. Bill F. at Equilung.Bsky.Social. I think that's how you say it. When will the FO realize that doing right by the player gets you nowhere in the long run if you're not trying to make the club that players want to stay? And I think that is, of all the ones I've seen, that one hits the nail right on the head. It's like, of course, no one wants to come in and work out an apartment-style gym underneath in the stadium. The lack of facilities here needs to be pointed to as the number one reason I think why anyone wouldn't want to stay here. But finally, at Rapids Jason.Bsky.Social, Jason Maxwell. Between this and the almost certain schedule change, will Rapids season ticket holders, particularly non-corporate ones, be measured with 3 digits or 2? And I think it leads into one final segue here, and that's the fact that with Denver Summit FC on the horizon, everything is in KSC's ball. The ball is in their court. Everything for them to turn around this club for the next season. Because by all means, it looks like this season's toast. And I'm willing to kind of, I've been there for a minute, despite the fact that the team has won, here and there. But, with Denver Summit FC, that is the biggest competition coming in, and I fear that the Rapids may lose a lot to that franchise. I'll go over to you guys. Any final words? We'll start with Jeremy and then end with John.
Good thing you brought up Denver Summit, because I fully expect them to open their inaugural season with Sophia Wilson up top. So, yeah. If we're talking about bad things happening with stars and the organizations. What's been going on with Sophia Smith and the Portland Thorns has not been very pretty since new ownership took over. So, yeah, I fully expect her to be playing for Denver. Next season they start, right? Yeah, she'll be in Denver next season. Go back to the box state. It's good for her, and you can't really be mad at her for that move. So if you're anticipating Sophia Wilson joining Denver and the Rapids are selling probably their best player in recent memory to another team that's in MLS, which I think that's the other aspect of this that I think is going a little bit like under the radar. Like, yeah, it's Toronto, it's an Eastern Conference club, but as someone who's had to deal with watching your star player go to a different MLS team, although it's in a different conference, having to see just the constant annoyance that is FC Cincinnati fans, who I've decided to dub FC. Well, actually, like, come on, guys, you've barely been here. You don't know shit. I feel like that's gonna hurt, but not as much as I guess the pain that I've been going through. Well, not so much pain, but just like it makes the hate watches a lot more enjoyable. It's still gonna be tough to watch Djordje Mihailovic play for another MLS team where he is gonna be making more money, and it is money that the Rapids could absolutely offer him because he's absolutely worth any amount of pay increase given just how big of a centerpiece he's been, a true MVP caliber centerpiece for this team. And now he's gone. So I feel like if you're admitting this season is a wash, you got to give something to grab onto that's going to say this is our hope for next year. Like, it can't just be Josh Atencio. It can't just be like, oh, Navajo's doing well. Maybe Yappy by a miracle ends the season in like some really good goal scoring form. No. You need something that's going to be tangible for the fans to clutch onto, because who's going to renew season tickets for a team that is willing that as it seems right now, and we'll learn more later, has made their star player not want to be there and is willing to go to Toronto, who is coached by the former head coach of the Colorado Rapids that got fired. I feel like that's just something that is not going to sell any season tickets.
John, any closing thoughts?
Not too much to say that's already been said. I think you guys mentioned it with Summit FC. It's going to be a big wake up call for the Rapids front office when they go live, and particularly when they get their stadium built. I think that's supposed to open in 28 or 29 in downtown Denver off Broadway. It's going to be interesting conversations with fan groups of, hey, do you want to go to a Rapids game or do you want to go to a Summit's game? And 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be a Summit. So I don't know. They got to do something, or they're going to lose the fan base, or they're just going to have to, I don't know, move. I don't know. It's a particular time for this club. So I'm still a Rapids fan, still going to renew my season tickets, but looks like dark days are ahead for this club. So I don't know how you feel about the future one, but I don't feel too optimistic.
Man, I have long said I am not purchasing season tickets until there's a new change at the helm, because and not just, I mean, I think this goes kind of beyond the front office at this point, because this is squarely at the owner, and for an owner who cares more about their developments in California, like of course the Rapids are gonna be in a situation like this where I feel like whether this was Porrig Smith or a new GM hired on, whether it was Fran Taylor or a new sporting director hired on, the symptom always goes back to KSC. It always goes back to the fact that there is money in the well to build this team into something that could rival Summit FC. That that could actually compete. And as it's been, as the league has grown, as the valuation of clubs have, increasingly exponentially over time, have, paid their initial investment back and then some, there really is no reason for Kroenke to invest in the team. Like, they have made all their money and then some, and running how the Rapids are run right now, where you can get, you can hire a guy like Porig to shovel the shit, right? And you can hire these guys that'll mostly just be the front face, get the, the immediate backlash off of this. And I don't think anyone else really could, moneyball or focus group test this club out of their current predicament. I've always said, like, once Porig and company and everyone move on, that'll be a time I give the Rapids another shot, because as the last couple of years, I mean, we're almost 8 years since that Rapids op-ed, and the Rapids, by my count, have only made the playoffs 3 times. 2021, 2020, which, big ol' asterisk there, and 2024. 3 playoffs season appearances in 8 years is not perennial playoff team. If they make the playoffs this year, it's only because of the evident fact that MLS, wants to bulge out their final end of the year with meaningless playoff games that, I guess not meaningless, right? Because they are the playoffs, but, an additional meaningless game in the third leg. Those first, that playoff format just makes no sense, but it's so forgiving to a team like the Rapids, to teams like, New England, to teams like Dallas, all these teams that DC, right? Like the Rapids are closer to that group of clubs than they are to teams like, I know we said, Cincinnati, LAFC, Columbus, these big, Miami, right? Big budget spending teams. Like, the Rapids are closer to the trash heap of MLS than we give them credit for, and there's no amount of, like I said, Moneyball that's going to change this. But that's kind of my outlook. That's been my outlook on the Rapids. Next year is going to be a very telling year for where this club stands in the eyes of Denver, of soccer enjoyers in Colorado. Beyond that, Jeremy, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at SportsGuyJeremy, on Bluesky at JeremyPierman.Bsky.Social. You can read my work on the Cascadia FC brand new website, Cascadia-FC.Ghost.io. And I feel sorry for anyone who bought any new Rapids third jersey with Mihailovic's name on the back.
That you should be immediately compensated for that jersey and then some. John, you're not on social media, but could we think to find you at some tailgates? Where could they find you?
Yeah, you could just find me at the tailgates, hanging out with all the other culeros and chilling, drinking, going in the stadium, singing. So, yeah, get off social media, touch grass, people. It's much better for your mental health out there.
Yeah, well, so is not being a Rapids fan, and here we are. You can find me.
Touché.
Not to put a downer on it, but if there's one reason to go to games, it's definitely the community. So don't let whatever I say hinder you from having a good time at the games. Beyond that, though, you can find me at Juanners.715 on Twitter. Actually, no, I'm not on there anymore. Juanners.Bsky.Social. Follow Box State Footy by going to boxstatefooty.com. Be sure to follow all the links there, and you'll be sure to connect and follow us on all the other platforms there. This has been it for Burgundy Banter, emergency podcast here. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye.